Aloha. I'm going to go through what we went through in class today and a little larger. The very first problem, today we talked about using Solver and we also talked about using GoalSeek. These are very powerful tools which can help you come up with solutions very, very quickly. But before I do anything, if you don't have Solver on your version of Excel, let me show you how to add that on here. If you click on File over here, and then you click on, then near the bottom, you'll see where it says Options. That's what you want to click on. You click on Options, and then this thing will pop up, and you want to come down where it says Add-ins, which is there. Click on Add-ins, and near the bottom, Excel Add-ins Go. We'll want to click on that, and you'll have a little dialog box. And you want to have where it says Solver Add-in. Make sure you have that selected. That's the important thing we need for today. There's other cool stuff in here, but this is what we need for Solver. Solver Add-in, and click OK. And now your version of Excel is ready to go. Let's look at these. The first two problems in the class quiz, which pertain closely to another couple problems you have for the homework. The first one has to do with trying to figure out how much of a loan you can afford. And there are some fancy Excel formulas that we covered when we talked about financial formulas that you can use to figure that out. That works great. Let's do the same thing using Solver. In this one, you want to purchase a house. You can afford a monthly payment of $3,500 on a 30-year loan at 6.5% annual percentage rate after putting 20% down. Let's use all of these conditions to solve for the maximum amount purchase price of a house you can purchase. So I'm just going to take a guess. Let's say 500, some value. We'll just put price. And then you have the loan amount, because you have to put down 20%, which means the loan amount is going to be 80%, so equals 0.8 times the purchase price of the house. Oh, you know what? Might as well add a couple of zeros. Make it look nice. So 80% of $500,000 is 400,000. You can do 0.8 or you can do 80%. Either way, you want to make sure you put the 80% of what the loan amount is. APR down is 6.5%. And then our payment, actually, you know what? We can skip that one. We'll put that in the payment part. These are the important things we'll put in. The payment that we have is the formula PMT. The rate is 6.5% divided by 12 because you're making monthly payments. You're making monthly payments over 30 years. So the number of payments is 360. And the loan amount is this. If you want to do this, or the other option would be to that times 0.8. I guess you've already calculated it out. So we have the loan amount. It needs to be negative. And so if we borrowed $400,000, our monthly payment is going to be a little north of 2,500. But we can afford more than that. We can start guessing values in here. Let's try 900 and keep doing that over and over again. And eventually we'll converge to the right answer, or we can let Excel solve this very quickly for us. I'm going to let Excel do that. We'll come up here to the data ribbon, which is right up here. The data ribbon will give us the tools that we need to do some data analysis. I'm going to come over here to where it says what if analysis. That will give me what I need. What if analysis. And the middle one is goal seek. Goal seek says find the right input for the value you want. And that's what we're doing. We want to set the payment amount. So that's A3. You can either click on it or you can even type A3. That's fine. If you value 3,500, that's what we can afford for a house, by changing cell A1. So as we vary the price of the house, we'll converge down to where we have a monthly payment, principal interest payment of $3,500. Now click OK. And this tells us that if we can afford a $3,500 payment, Down payment's not an issue. In that case, we can buy a house up to $692,172.34. That's what it tells us. Let's do the same thing with buying a truck. You can afford a $275 monthly payment on a 10-year loan at 9.75%. So I'm just going to put in some value right here. Let's put in $50,000. It's not going to be that much, but what's the payment going to be? If we're looking at 9.75% divided by 12, that gives us a monthly payment. 10 years, I'm just going to do 10 times 12. You can put in 120 to let Excel do the heavy lifting for you. The amount of the loan that we have is a negative present value. So if you had a $50,000 loan, your monthly obligation is going to be $653. But our goal, we can only afford less than half that, $275. Let's let Excel do our heavy lifting for us. So I'm going to come back to data like we did before. Under what if analysis, I'll click on goal seek like we did before. And we are going to set the cell E2 to a value of 275 by changing the loan amount. And once we get that, look how quick that was. Before I finish my sentence, that means we can borrow $21,029.25. Those are the first two. That's how we can use Goal Seek, which is really quite powerful tool. Now, Goal Seek is powerful, but if you can change things a little bit more, you can make it more powerful. We'll use Solver. You can use Solver for everything you can do for Goal Seek. The Solver is a little bit more complicated, but it's really, really powerful. Now for this, I'm just going to copy these from the class quiz. We have a couple of formulas on here. 7x plus 2y equals 24, 8x plus 2y equals 30. We have a system of linear equations. We want to solve for our x and our y value. I'm going to type x, y, and I'm going to bring this over here. So these are the variables we're trying to solve for. I'm just going to take a wild guess, and I don't know, I'll put 3 and 3. I know those aren't the right answers, but we need to have a value so we can converge to what the correct value is. We have a couple of equations, and we have some constraints. The first equation says we have 7 times x plus 2 times y. That's what we have right here. So I'm just going to put this equation right here into the equations, and then the constraint I'll put over here to the right. 24. The equation we have here is 8 times x plus 2 times y, and that is equal to 30. Oh, look at that. That value works. Let's see, 8x plus 2y. This one is 7x plus 2y. Now, what combination of values do we need? Well, if we go to Solver, which you'll get from clicking on, let's see, data, and then over to the right, you'll have Solver. You'll get this big, huge thing, the Solver parameters. Now, what we want to do is we want to have one of these equations. We could do F8. Sure, let's do that. We want this to have a value of 30. So we really want the equation to go to the constraint. And what are we going to do to get there? We're going to change these two variables. That's my x. Cell D7, here's my x. Cell D8 is my y. So that's what we're going to change. And the constraints that will change, we want this cell to equal 24. So I can either type in a reference to the 24, or I can just type in 24. It doesn't matter. Either one will do the same thing. Click OK. Now that I have this mostly set up, there's one more important step I need to take. This has a checkbox right here. What does the checkbox say? Make unconstrained variables non-negative. This forces positive values only. Let's ignore that because negative values are possible. Everything else looks good on here. We click on solve, and it will take a minute. I think there we go. That looks, click OK. And we have a solution. Now the solution looks kind of funny. You'll notice the equation's not quite with the constraints. It's really, really close, but it's not quite there. It is for the first equation. The second equation looks good. But this is so close for all practical purposes. We're right there. But the issue is that when it converged on the solution, it had these answers that were just a little bit off. When you're that close to 6, we're just going to call this one 6. This one's that close to -9. I'll put a -9. Notice when I do that, I get the right answer. Now on the homework in class quizzes, I'm going to give you whole numbers. If I don't give you whole numbers, if decimals, it'll only be like maybe tenths, hundredths. It won't be as far out as that one had. And so when you're really close, you might as well fix them, make them even, and that most likely will get you something a little bit closer. There's our first system of equations. Let's look at the next one. Plug that in here. And I'm just going to copy all of this down. I don't have to recreate everything on here. I still want to update the equations. For this equation I have is 2 times x plus 3 times y. That equation I got from right here. So 2x plus 3y. And I'll do the same thing for the next equation, which is 7 times x plus 2 times y. And these I want to equal to 23 and 63. Pull out my solver, handy dandy solver, and I want that the first equation equal to 20, or I could do the second one. I want to make sure I include both of them. So we want, those are the x and y variables. I'm going to delete this thing right here, and I'll add, I want that equal to 53. Or I can click on the cell G14. Click on OK. Okay, non-negative values. Either way. Click on solve. Oh, and the same thing, I got this really close number, I'm just going to put in 2 and 7, and look at that. We're perfect. They did take a little bit of tweaking at the very end, but not much. There's our solution for this, for the problem number 4. Let's look at 5. I'm going to copy this down here. Those are not the right equations for 5. I'm going to copy 5 over. Okay, so now we have 45 and 49. We have 5 times x minus 8 times y. For the first one, the next one we have 9 times x minus 8 times y. Pull up solver. We want to have that equation equal to 45. We are going to change these 2 variables. And right here, we will, I'll take this. We want this thing equal to that thing. And we'll solve it out. There we go. 1 and -5. Beautiful. That very smoothly. So we've been doing 2 systems of 2 equations. The solver, you can do 3, 4, 5, 6. You can have as many equations as you want. I think the homework, there might be one that has 4. For the in-class quiz, we did a couple that had 3 equations. So I'm going to add a z. I'm going to add these. And the tricky part is getting the formulas correct. Once you have the formulas in, Excel will do all your heavy lifting for you. So this first equation we have equals 4 times x, x is right here, plus y minus 2 times z. Next one we have 2 times x plus 3 times y plus 3 times z. Last thing we have -6 times x minus 2 times y plus z, and we want 0, 9, 0. So if I run my solver, I'll just have the first one equal to 0. And I could have done any one. And actually, you can, once you have that set up, you can, for your constraints, you can add all three equations again. What matters is you have each equation at least once. If you replicate the same constraint multiple times, it doesn't make a difference. You can have 5 of the same constraints or 1 of the same constraint, and they'll still be the same constraint. If you have a constraint, for example, if you're filling up a glass of milk and you need at least 8 ounces, if you say that 5 times, you satisfy it once, you'll satisfy all of those times. So if they're the exact same constraint over and over again, it doesn't matter. It's just redundant. Okay, so we have 20. Okay, we have the objective, which is our first constraint, F23 equal to 0. That's what we want. We're going to change X, Y, and Z. Let's add these constraints. We'll have that one should be equal to 9, or click on that, either one. We click on add because we also want this thing equal to 0. Okay. And we'll solve it out. And there we go. I think you'll notice these numbers, scientific, the first and second are the scientific notation, but I click on this, it's negative 2.25. It's got somewhere number way out there. I'm just going to delete that. This one has the same thing. I'll delete that last little part. Negative 1.5. Oh, and this one actually should be 6. Now we got it perfect. Great. We've got one more problem to work through. I'm going to copy this down. But I like how it's set up. Click on these formulas and replace them. Put the equation equals 2 times x plus 3 times y minus 4 times z. Oh, looks like a typo. This one should be. Okay, that's the first one. Next one, let's see, equals 3 times x minus 2 times y plus 5 times z. Last one equals 4 times x plus 3 times y minus 2 times z. Now we have these set up. Let's correct the constraints. -2, you want 26 and 14. Let's add solver in here. Solver, we want that thing equal to -2. We are going to change these. And let's do it, please. The constraints we have is we want this equal to 26. Add this. The third equation we want equal to 14. And click OK. And solve. Let's see what happens. Three, 4, and 5. Oh, there we go. We got them all. And well, that's how we use Solver and GoalSeek. And this really powerful tool you can use for a lot of things.